One big issue with ADHD is communication difficulties. Now that's not just with ADHD, but also with autism, because communication difficulties are actually a symptom of both. Where they may differ in things like language development, social skills, and reading expressions, they are very, very similar nonetheless. Now what I mean by communication difficulties isn't just those kinds of situations, everything from, like I said, facial expressions, to certain words that are being used, or to your own language development, whether or not you're very clear with your speech or you mumble. It's also to do with just basic one-on-one chats with another person. Now, for me, for example, it's like sometimes when I have a conversation with someone, there's something I want them to understand or something I want to express. I know exactly what I want to say in my head. I know exactly how I want it to sound, but I can't verbalize it. I can't exactly express it the way I want it to be expressed or the way I want it to be understood. Personally, whenever I'm trying to explain myself to someone or express something like a thought, an opinion, an interest, anything at all, especially opinions if I'm honest, there's always this kind of barrier going on where my brain is kind of overthinking everything, it's running a million miles an hour, trying to pick out the exact words I want to use, simply because I don't want the person opposite me, the person I'm talking to misunderstand anything I'm saying, because I want them to understand exactly, what I want them to understand. Now, here's the big issue with that, because sometimes it might not be that the person opposite you is misunderstanding you or not understanding you at all, but instead perhaps they do understand what you're saying and they do get where you're coming from, but on your side of things, because of the communication difficulties and because of the way they might communicate it back to you, you are under the impression they don't understand it because it doesn't sound right coming from them. In which case, that just kind of creates this endless loop that's quite frustrating when you're convinced they don't understand you, but they think that they do. And I say think because sometimes they think they do, but they don't. It's a two-way streak when it comes to communication difficulties. It's not just you with ADHD or autism, it's also the person opposite you and how you're processing that information that's coming back at you. And like I said, it's like in your head, you know exactly what you want to say, but you can't express it that way. And the part of my issue is, especially when it comes to communication, is when I'm picking out those exact words, the reason for that is because I understand how easy it is in any conversation with anyone for the person you're talking to not just misunderstand you, but to get a misconception or form assumptions on what you're saying, or adding subtexts to the sentences or the words that you're using that simply isn't there. So there is no subtext at all, but they think there is. And that's all to do with the communication difficulties. It's really complicated. It's not as straightforward as you just don't know what to say, because you do know what you want to say a lot of the time, but you can't get it out. And that's very, very frustrating and annoying, honestly, because you really, really do want to be misunderstood. So does anyone. Everyone, every day, wants to be wants to be understood one way or another. But the problem is, when it comes to difficulties associated with ADHD and autism, and especially when it comes to communication barriers, that is particularly difficult. It more so than, say, in a neurotypical conversation, simply because your brain is not processing the information correctly, and like I said, you're struggling to express what you want to say. And another issue with that, like a backlash, is that a lot of the time people can enter a very negative state of mind because they don't understand why it's so difficult for themselves. You can have ADHD or autism and know that there's difficulties inherent in you with communication, but that doesn't make it any easier to understand. The best thing I think most people can do to kind of overcome that barrier is, one, just keep talking. Every conversation you have, don't shy away from it. Don't second guess yourself. Just go for it. And in certain conversations, when someone's talking to you and you are convinced that they haven't understood what you've wanted to say or what you have said to them, or they've gained, like I said, an assumption, a misconception, a subtext, whatever, then just correct them. So if you said to someone a sentence that you didn't intend to be offensive and they took it offensively, then just calmly explain to them, it's like, oh no, I didn't mean like that, I meant like this. It's just a little bit of backtracking sometimes, which I know can also be frustrating, but from my experience at least, that seems to work in a lot of situations. So, but yeah, like I said, 1, just keep talking, don't shy away from the conversation. 2, don't be afraid to just re-explain yourself, to backtrack a little bit, or just to correct a person when you think they haven't understood what you've said. And I think 3 then is just in your own time, develop certain methods that you can come up with that will help you overcome those. I know people with ADHD and autism who basically have it like a script in their head. They know exactly what kind of responses they want to use, and they know why. And then they know where to go from there. Kind of like improvisation, but not quite improvisation, because you have pre-planned it in a way. But you can't predict a conversation, so that's why I said improvisation. So, and I've also known people when it comes to conversations who develop certain habits, like one that I've heard before is actually repeating the last word of the person they are talking to. Not only does it keep your attention on the conversation, but also shows them you're listening, and it gives you a sort of starting line of what to say next. So at least it's not awkward. And when it comes to expressing yourself, you don't have to necessarily talk. You can write it in letters. When I was younger and I wanted to express myself and I found it very difficult, I would write letters or notes and then pass them to the people I was trying to talk to, because sometimes seeing the words in a physical form makes it a lot easier for you to get them from your head, well, out into the world, out into the conversation. And doing just little things like that can be a lot of help. Anyway, I think that is all I wanted to say. So if you have any thoughts or opinions on what I've just said, or any methods that you use yourself and you feel comfortable in putting them in the comment section, then please do. And otherwise, if you like the video and you want to see more, because I will be uploading daily as I have been since I started this, then please leave a like, follow. What's the other one I usually forget? Oh yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel and repost the video, just to help raise awareness, just to help increase my channel, I suppose, because I like these conversations. Despite the language or communication difficulties, I really like to have a conversation and I really like to talk. So anyway, besides that, if you're interested and you want to see more, then perhaps I'll see you in the next video. Till then, have a nice evening, have a nice morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and in general, just be happy, be positive, and like I said, don't shy away from a conversation, even if you feel awkward. It's well worth it in the long run. Till then, see you. Bye.